and welcome to our workshop today. It's a continuation of the workshop we ran on Wednesday. So every Wednesday and Saturday we run workshops. Wednesday at 5:30 in the evening, 5:30 to 7 p.m. and on Saturdays from 10 to noon time. So the workshop this week is focused on hormones, imbalances for men and women. Okay, but before we do that, I know some people already have watched the video already, like Kim. So Kim is gonna know all the answers, but there's extra information we're gonna be exploring today, and to make sure that everybody is conversant. So typically, I run the workshops in 4 sections. The first section, we're going to talk about our approach to treating chronic illness. Aging is chronic illness because aging itself causes a lot of diseases. So we're going to talk about that. And the issue of hormones is part of aging. Then on the second part, we're going to walk through some of the slides about hormones. In the third part, we're going to talk about some products, natural therapies and replacement therapies, which are called bioidenticals. And then in the fourth part, we're going to just talk about questions and look at some other things that I want to talk about. Are we okay about that? So the bathrooms, we have 2 bathrooms, one back there and one there. We have coffee and we have water, and we're going to have some fruits and refreshment after the workshop. You can stop me anytime and ask a question, okay? And with your permission, we are videoing and it's on Facebook Live, okay? So welcome. So Pauline, at least I know your name. Thank you for coming, Paul. Yeah, alumni, yes, from the company. Pauline used to work for us. I forgot your name. Yon has been here before. Thank you for joining us today. And your name is? I'm Randy. Randy. Thanks, Randy, for joining. Chung. Thanks for joining. And Sol, we know you already. And Jihi, that's Dr. Yi's sister. And Kim, our favorite participant. And then I have my staff. I have Louise. I have Dr. Prasant. I have Vincent. I have Yara. And Dr. Yi is actually on the phone right now. Okay? So everybody is comfortable about the topic today. We're going to talk about hormones. Women and men are fascinated by the topic of hormones, okay? So we're going to explore that. And Grace, I forgot to mention Grace, so stuff. So what is Anti-Fragility Health? We're a different kind of clinic. We're not your typical doctor's kind of clinic. We run an integrative practice. What does that mean? That means that we believe that food is medicine for the body. Number 1. Number 2, your lifestyle determines your health. Okay? That's how we run. We do not believe that if you have a sickness, we give you medication. We don't believe that. We believe that you only take medication when it is critical and necessary. For specific cases, you can take medication. For most cases, nutrients, water, sleep, good food would heal you, because that is the way God created the architecture, to heal itself from the nutrients that we have around us. So we have a different philosophy about healthcare. It's very important we understand that. It's not that we don't give medication, but that's not the first thing we're going to give you. Okay? Are we clear about that? Okay. So let's start. There are 6 or 7 things that cause illness, what we call chronic illness. So there are 2 kinds of illness. No, there are 3 kinds of illness. Can somebody tell me what the 3 kinds of illness are? We have chronic illness. What else do we have? No, that's a chronic illness too. Thank you. No, we have accidents, right? And what else do we have? We have genetic illnesses. People who are born with like type 1 diabetes. It's a genetic, it's not a chronic illness, right? Even though it turns out to be chronic, it's actually genetic. Most chronic illnesses come from lifestyle. That means it is the way that you've conducted your life that has arrived, including something we call aging. So let's just walk through it. Toxins. Randy, do you know what toxins are?
Toxins are the example of that toxin.
Yes. Give us example of a toxin you know.
Exhaust.
Yeah, exhaust smoke and carcinogens. Where do we get carcinogens? From smoking, right? Or inhaled in the environment. And there's another one that's very dangerous. Glyphosate. Glyphosate, Roundup, that they use for weed killers from Monsanto, that they use in a lot of farms. So even though we may eat healthy, we're actually eating food that was grown using glyphosate, right? It's a very dangerous toxin and it causes cancer. It's carcinogenic, as you just said. Then there are allergens. Are you Henry? Hello?
Oh, no, William.
William, how are you? Sorry. Grab a seat. Oh, you want to sit back there? All right, that's fine. So what are allergens? Give me an example of an allergen. Pollen, yes. Pollen. Why do we react to pollen that way? And why do some people react worse than others to pollen? Yeah. So why are some people more allergic than others?
Our immune system.
Correct? Are you a doctor? That's very good. So our genetic architecture and our immune system determines that response. But a lot of people get sick from allergens. Some are like perfumes, some are artificial, and some are natural that people react to, right? Some people react to perfumes, very irritated by it. Then we have pathogens, we have bacteria, we have infections, which is one of the big ones. And we all know that most infections we never get rid of completely. So it doesn't matter how much antibiotics you take, it is difficult to get rid of any infection 100%, including HIV. That's why your HIV can be reduced, any virus, up to like 99%, but there is a residual 1% of the virus or pathogens that stays inside your body. And the dangerous thing about these pathogens is that they go and hide inside your organs, that 1%. So it looks like you're healed, you're fine, but they're hiding and they become a big problem later on with age as they accumulate. That's why if you have infections consistently, it's very bad for you. Whether it's flu, whether it's UTI, all those infections are dangerous if you have them continuously. You understand? Because it doesn't matter how much you treat them, there's a residual amount that's accumulating in your organs that's going to cause chronic illness later on. It's very important that we understand that. Then we talk about stress, right? There are 4 aspects of stress that I teach in this class. Most people, when they think about stress, what do they think about, Kim? Perceived stress. Anybody here know any other kind of stress? Okay, first of all, we want to talk about perceived stress. Pauline, talk to us. What is perceived stress? You've been my student for a long time.
Circumstantial.
Yeah, talk to us. Yes.
Like you're facing an exam.
Exactly. And you're stressed. Helen, how are you? Good. Grab a seat, Helen. Right? That's perceived stress. What other kind of perceived stress?
High elevated level of cortisol.
Oh, yeah, but wait, no, that's a response. That's a response. Yeah. Like spending money that you don't have in your bank account. That's stressful. Right? Or your credit card statement comes and you can't remember how you spent it, right? So that's stress. And who created that stress?
Yourself.
We did, right? See the stressful lives that we live. We live in big houses that we can't afford, right? Helen is a real estate person. She knows that very well. Thank you for joining us, Helen. And then What are the other kinds of stress? We have, hi Victor. Join us, Victor. Oh wow.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you.
So we have other kinds of stress. So I said there are 4 kinds of stress. There is perceived stress that we just talked about. Then there is, please.
Excuse us.
Thank you. That's great, Victor. Thanks, man. Sure. Okay. So thanks for joining us. Your name is?
Felix.
Felix, thank you for coming. And
Isabel.
Isabel. And we know Victor.
Yes.
And my name is Charles. So the workshop started again, but thank you for joining us.
Sorry, we're
So
late.
no, that's life. Life happens in LA. So I was going through the causes of chronic illness, and I was at stress. So I was saying there are 4 kinds of stress, and we're talking about the first one, which is perceived stress, which is the stress that we generate with our thoughts, right? Am I pretty enough? Am I handsome enough? Am I rich enough? You know those stresses of life? Is my car big enough? Am I going to run out of gas? I'm one of those crazy people. I run my car until I barely have to get to the gas station, right? And I keep wondering, why am I stressing myself? When I know some people who, when it's 1/4, they go and fill up their tank. You do? But me, I run to fuel reserve. Then I start looking for gas station. Extra stress, right? It worries me. So I need to change that behavior so I don't have the stress. Right? Kim reduces that stress by 1/4, go fill that tank.
Yeah, me too.
Do you see that? I mean, women are that way. Men, you know, we think we're going to make it. Right? Until once... I know. Then there was one day I was driving to LA, and on the hill I ran out of gas. I kept thinking I would buy it on the other side of the hill, and I had to call the people to come and tell me. Anyway, the second kind of stress is the big one that drives hormones.
Nope.
Sleep. The circadian dysregulation. We were created. Can somebody? Sorry, I will take it. Thank you. The circadian dysregulation. We were created to sleep 8 hours a night. I know. You watch little kids sleep. They enjoy sleep. That sleep is a very important part of our health. It is during the sleep that a lot of things in the body are re-regulated and cleansed and supported. So if you're not sleeping 8 hours a night, and you have not been sleeping 8 hours for a long period, you will develop chronic illness, especially Alzheimer's. Yes.
Wow.
Sleep is a mandatory issue for all of us.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. Go ahead,
Okay.
Isabel.
Yeah. So, what if you automatically wake up like after a little before 7 hours? What do you do then?
You should go pee, drink some water,
Okay.
and get back to bed. Or like people like me do, I go work and then I'll take a nap in the afternoon.
So that counts too.
It counts, but that's not a good thing. It's a backup.
Okay.
It's a backup. It provides you with the appropriate rest, but it doesn't provide you with the clinical issues that a long hour of sleep takes.
Got it. Whoa.
So this is not a class on sleep. I could run a whole...
But it's huge.
Yeah, it's a huge...
Yeah.
And I know it's a hormonal issue too for a lot of men and women. That's why younger people sleep better than older people.
So lack of sleep is the beginning cause of illness then?
It's one of them.
One of them.
Yes. And if you have chronic lack of sleep, it's considered chronic stress. Yes. And stress is really one of the big issues for chronic illness. So you can say, I'm eating well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but if you cannot sleep, that's a big, big sign. So we have a lot of equipment. This is one of them that monitors your sleep. Kim has tried this. It actually tells you what positions you sleep best in, how deep your sleep is, how long that deep sleep is. Those are very, very important measures. And you should know, because it tells you how well you're sleeping and how, if you sleep well, you wake up with vitality. When you don't sleep well, if you need coffee to wake up, you didn't sleep well.
Right.
You should wake up. Children don't wake up and say, where's the coffee? They wake up with vitality. And that's a sign that you're healthy. If you wake up and you need coffee, you're not healthy. Something is wrong. Okay, very important. So that was the second part of stress. The third part of stress is inflammation. Inflammation is mostly from your stomach because of all the lousy things that we eat, from the water, the air, the food. And then the last one is sugar, the glycemic dysregulation. When there's too much sugar in the blood, it causes stress to the overall architecture. Why? Because our insulin is trying to pull the sugar out of that bloodstream, because sugar in our blood is very dangerous for us. It overwhelms our kidney and our liver, and it causes deposits and precipitates. So having too much sugar in the blood causes significant stress on our system. That's why nobody in my class should be eating sugar at all, except once a week. You can steal 1 spoon of ice cream. It's okay. 1 spoon, yeah. Only 1 spoon. Okay? Sugar is the biggest killer in America. As you know, sugar is, they say, as addictive as cocaine. So please, no sugar. You don't need it. The body doesn't need sugar. Okay?
Has it?
Huh?
Our foods have it already. The fruit.
Because you like it. No, fruit sugar is different from
right,
sugar that man made. Okay? If you really like sugar, eat fruits.
Right.
At least it's better than the other sugar. In my village in Cameroon, we had no sugar. We had just sugar cane. So if you wanted to eat something sweet, you ate sugar cane. We didn't have sugar. So sugar is one of the crimes you commit to yourself, especially if you drink soda. No sugar, at least, if that's the big thing you learned from this class today, sugar and sleep, right? Okay, let's go to nutrient deficiency. Most Americans would say, I eat well. And that's bullshit. Because the food itself does not have the nutrients that it used to have 50 years ago. Because we've depleted the soil. And most Americans do not eat the organs. They eat the steak. And all the minerals are in the organs.
Oh, wow.
In the tongue, in the kidney, in the liver. In the old country, that's what people ate. They didn't eat the steak. That's what the dogs ate. But here, we give the dogs the organ and we eat the bullshit.
Oh my gosh.
Right? So go look at all the research. The organs have the best nutrients. And so people find out, why am I not healthy even though I eat well? Because you're eating the wrong things. Right? Plus, the vegetables that are being planted with glyphosate, you're taking all that toxicity. So our patients come in here and say, oh, I eat broccoli, I eat this, and then we run their urine and look at the toxicity, and it's full of heavy metals because of the soil that it's planted on. I'm not saying don't eat anything, but be aware that what you're eating may not be good enough, may be deficient, and also giving you toxins. So, and there's also a difference between calories and nutrients. The body doesn't need calories. The body needs nutrients, because when it takes the nutrients, it's going to make what it needs out of it. And so in America, the American diet is all about calories, and counting calories is not about nutrients. Calories are not important. What is important is nutrients. And we have some handouts. This is not a class on nutrients or nutrition. We will teach that some other time. And then we go to genetic risk. How many people here have done their genetic sequencing? So if you have not done it, then you don't know what your inherited risk is. And what are some of the inherited risks? Alzheimer's, breast cancer, yeah, the BRCA positive. What else? Yes, exactly, right? So there are a lot of things that if you don't do your genetic sequencing, you don't know that you already came with that risk. I'm calling it a risk and not a condition because you can have the risk for Alzheimer's, but you live a lifestyle that will not allow Alzheimer's to show up. What kind of lifestyle would that be? A life without carbohydrates. The big solution today for Parkinson's, for Alzheimer's, and for a lot of mental issues is no sugar, no carbohydrates. So the ketogenic diet is emerging as the big diet that can reverse and slow down all what we call neurodegenerative illnesses. Okay? And then aging, that's the one we're trying to solve. Nobody has a solution to it. The fact that not yet. But there are a couple of technologies that are emerging. There's a thing called tissue engineering, where we are building tissue and organs in other animals, right? They're building kidneys, lungs, and hearts in pigs, and they'll be able to bring that and transplant. So the whole transplantation for tissue engineering, we're already using that, and then they're looking for ways in which we can actually take pure blood from young people and change your blood, and there are companies doing that right now in New York, where they'll take a 15-year-old blood and take out all your blood and put that new blood inside of you. It changes your overall feel and look about life. It gives you vitality instantly. Wow. It's very expensive, but you know, the future is going to be like for people who can afford it, right? Okay. How's this going? We were just talking about the causes of chronic illness. Any questions? All right. Looks like I have a very attentive class. So one of the things that we do here is that we run tests, what we call our diagnostic test. Because one of the first things we do in this clinic is that you need to know about your health. It's your health. It's not your doctor's health. So many people come here and say, what is your A1C number? How many people know what A1C is?
That's your sugar.
It's not sugar. I'm waiting. You're Americans. You should know what the A1C is.
It's a level. It's a level. It's a count
Of what?
of the amount of sugar that you have in your blood.
That's your glucose count. Tell them, Dr. Preston.
Last 3 months average glucose level.
Correct. All right. It's the 3 months average level. Why is that level important?
Well, to keep you healthy. Stay healthy.
So
that you don't go into diabetes.
good. And when does diabetes show up? At what number?
5.7 and above.
Wow, that's very good.
5.5.
Okay, so 5.7, is that your number or is that an average number?
Well, that's the number. That's the borderline between pre-diabetic and diabetic.
No, you didn't answer my question. Is that your personal number or is that the national number?
Your personal number.
It's not your personal number,
It's a
no.
national guide.
Okay, it's a guide. So what is your number? How do you know your number?
You have a blood test.
Testing.
No, but they give you that number based on the national. The only way you can know your number is to do it consequently to find where your number is actually within the population.
What do you mean?
So when they say I am 5 feet 10 inches, that is my number. When they say you're 5.7 A1C, we're taking your blood against the population and drawing what we call a distribution. In that distribution, we have decided that most people who are pre-diabetic are at 5.7. You may be pre-diabetic at 5.3. And some people may be pre-diabetic at 6.2. We just averaged it at 5.7.
So how do you assess that then?
Well, that's the point. So if you keep worrying about 5.7, that's the average. That's not your number.
It's not your number.
Do you get that now?
Yeah.
So you need to find your number.
So it's personal.
Yeah, because by the time you're 5.7, if you're this guy, you're already diabetic.
Yeah.
You have neuropathy already. And if you're this guy,
Forget it.
no, you're not yet diabetic. Because for you, genetically, you're on the higher end of your architecture for managing sugar. Do you get that?
How do you figure which one is the right number for you?
Well, that it comes with you finding your number and then seeing how you feel overall. And then consequently really determining what that number is for you. Our response to sugar when we do the glucose test is very different. So they do the 2-hour test, right? You take the test when you're starving, and then you take the test 2 hours later. The number is different for each of us. How well we metabolize glucose. That's the most important number than your A1C. Is that important? Is that clear?
Yeah.
It's very important that you find that number. It's a very important number because you may go on eating sugar thinking that you're fine when you're already diabetic. So we've been taking a lot of calls on neuropathy, and what was interesting, Dr. Dhea and I was having this conversation yesterday, is that it's when people are close to amputation that they're panicking. What do I do, Charles? I'm like, well, you have neuropathy in your fingers and your feet already. It's been 20 years and you kept eating ice cream. We're going to amputate you, or you change your lifestyle today. Sugar is not worth losing your foot over, right? Some people say, but I love sugar. Who doesn't?
Right.
You think I don't love sugar too? Right? But it's not worth it. Very important, guys. Are we clear about that number?
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about what happens when these things come into your body. What happens? We have a set of 7 imbalances that causes illness. So toxins come into their body. They don't just cause illness. What they do is that they cause an imbalance. Okay? And we're going to look at these biological imbalances. Right? Everybody's with me?
Yes.
My workshops are intellectually very intense because it's your body. There is no excuse for not knowing it. If you leave it with your doctor, he will not pay your insurance if you die because you were ignorant. Right? So it's your body. You're supposed to know about your body and how it works. That's why God gave you that body, right? He didn't say the doctor should run your body. So most patients come here and say, oh, but my doctor said, and I'm like, why? The doctor runs your life?
Yeah, what do they know?
Oh, I didn't go there. They know what they know,
Yeah.
but you should know what you should know, right? Okay, so it's very important. So let's talk about the most important one we've put at the center, the hormonal and neurotransmitter imbalances. Those are the things that drive our libido, our sexuality, our mood, our happiness, right? You know, when you're married to a woman, then she gets to about 50 and then she becomes so irritable. Right? And you wonder what happened. In the olden days, we called them witches and we would kill them. Yeah, in the olden days. You see, those queens in Korea will kill their queens because they have become irritable, right? Bothering them too much. Nobody understood that it was hormones and menopause, right? We call them witches, right? Everything okay?
No, I was just telling you about, never mind.
Okay. About some witch that was killed. Right? And then the men too would go on this drive, right? You know, Everybody is driven by libido and desire, and we say, oh, it's bad character, it's good character. Hormones drive most of who we are. It's very definitive, right? And that's why people are in this class today. Hormones is a big topic. Let's look at the other ones quickly. There's the whole issue of oxidation and reduction, right? I'm not going to spend too much time on that. There's the whole issue of detox. It's a big topic on its own. Most people here don't detox. How many people detox? No, not my staff.
I do a daily detox.
Oh, you do daily detox.
Yes.
Who else detoxes? Or who else knows what detox is?
Well, I tried, or my husband.
You try?
Yeah.
I don't like the word try.
Well.
We either do it like Nike said,
Yeah,
or you
so
don't.
We do a fasting of 16 hours.
No, you're doing intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. But that's not a detox.
But it helps, right?
I wasn't saying it didn't help. It's a good thing. But that's not a detox.
Yeah.
Because every day we are taking all of this stuff in.
Right.
Right? Because we outsource our drinking water to other people. You know, in the village, we knew where we took our water from. We've outsourced our eating to restaurants. We've outsourced our air to, right? So all that toxicity that's coming into your body every day, somebody needs to be removing that toxicity. That toxicity is gathering, and you need to do something with it. We're not going to talk about that today. That's another big topic. Then we talk about structural imbalances. We have equipment. Most of you might want to do your body composition analysis before you leave today. It looks at your muscular architecture and all of that. That's a free service. Soon I'll start charging for it. We have a new equipment that Kim is going to be the first to use and pay. Then we have a mind body. Yeah, I'm going to pay Kim to try it. We have mind body and body mind. We know that the mind is actually driven from the stomach. So we call that the gut-brain connection. If you have a lousy stomach, you're going to have a lousy brain. So that gut-brain connection, even for Alzheimer's and all dementia and all illnesses, is a very, very important issue. So the gut-brain connection, it's a big issue about imbalance. And then there's the mind-body connection, where you use yoga to relax this body, right? Breathing, right? Where you control. So those imbalances are all very important. Then there's this big issue of digestion, absorption, and gut microbial imbalance. How many people here take probiotics? How many times a day?
Well, I take one, but it's 50 billion.
Really? I take 250 billion.
Oh, okay.
No wonder my stomach is very noisy.
Yeah, you're bigger than me. My husband takes probiotics throughout the day.
All right.
He takes sauerkraut.
Okay, kombucha.
Kefir. Yeah, I take kombucha as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about digestive enzymes?
Yes.
Proteolytic.
Huh?
Proteolytic enzymes.
Yes. What about prebiotics?
Prebiotics.
Okay. Digestively, why do you need all those? Tell us, Isabel. You seem to be very educated on it. Why do you need all three every day?
Well, to get rid of to help the gut flora stay healthy, to come against all the.
You see, that's why you're not going to get Alzheimer's, because you're dealing with that. It is the most important architecture.
Yes.
It's actually, if there's one thing you're going to walk away here today, you really need to address that issue. Digestion, absorption, and the gut microbiome. Very important, guys. And then immune. Actually, when you have a lousy this, you're going to have a lousy immune system. So people who are having flus all the time, it really starts with their gut. They have a lousy gut architecture. Okay? So that is why when somebody says, I have diabetes, that's nonsense. Diabetes does not exist. What exists is a combination of these imbalances. So Western culture has brought this stupid naming. You see, the Chinese doctors didn't give names. They just said you had these symptoms, and then they concocted something for you to drink. Western culture then brought up these stupid names that are very deceptive,
Pills.
right? So that they could match it to some pills, and people will consume those pills. If you have diabetes, your diabetes is always different from somebody else's diabetes. Why? Because it's really a combination of these imbalances that is being displayed. Very important. So that's why we run all of this. People walk in here and say, oh, I did my blood test last week and my doctor said I was fine. I'm saying, oh, did he run your inflammation panel? Did he run your immune panel? Did he run your lipid panel? Did he run your blood count? And they're looking at me. Why? Because then then you're not fine. You're only fine if we know.
So it's a lipid panel, the inflammation panel, and which one?
Yeah, I'm not. That's not exhaustive. I could provide you a lot more different things about that. So don't take notes on that.
Okay.
It's a much more. We have a very extensive panel.
Okay.
Yes, across these things: imaging, your stool, your urine, your blood, and your saliva. So we run about 6 or 7 diagnostic panels across all those samples, so that we can have a complete picture of your health. Because it's your health, right?
Right.
It's not mine. So the mandatory issue we try to create here as part of our workshop is for you to know and take ownership of your health through knowledge. When you then get that first step, then it can move you to the second step, which is, how do I now take action? Right? So when I see another cookie, I say no, because that cookie is not worth an amputation. Right? And the choice becomes very easy. You cannot say, oh, but I like cookies. Yeah, we all like cookies, but the cookie is not worth an amputation. And if you're 20 years old, cookies are great, but if you're 50, 60, cookies are not for you. That's just the way life works. Are we clear about that?
Yes.
Okay, any questions on this? And these are the way we intervene. I've been talking about some of those, and I'm going to move quick on that. We intervene through nutrients, macro and micro, through hydration and electrolytes, sleep, exercise, detox, our stress response, and our relationships. So that's really at the core. And we will consider prescription medication as part of nutrients, because that's really what they're doing. They're blocking or enabling biochemical pathways, which is what nutrients do. That's what medications are. Okay? They just all have side effects, which is the bad thing about them. Okay? All right. Any questions? We might need some more copies of this. Did we make enough?
I bring 50.
All right. Can you pass that around? So you may have to share as we go quickly through this. And then can you print some more of the questionnaire too? Just in case. So how many kinds? So now we are getting into the hormone conversation. And we're going to talk about a couple of hormones. 4 of them. They're the most important ones. There are a couple of others we're not going to mention, so let's just get a sense around the 4 big hormones. 3 of them have to do with our sexuality, our vitality, our libido, right? The big one that every woman knows is estrogen, right? Then every man knows testosterone. Then everybody knows progesterone. Then we talk about cortisol, which is our stress response, right? And so let's just think about that for a moment. Every human being has all of them. We just have them in different proportions.
And even when you get older, they increase, right? Or is that correct?
It depends if for the person.
Oh.
It doesn't decrease for everybody.
Oh.
That's why in Cameroon, at 80 years old, they are still producing babies.
Wow.
The men are still having babies, not the women. Sorry, we're not in the Bible now. We're not in the Bible. Right, we're not in the Bible. Victor was like, where is that? Let's go. All right, so we're going to start with cortisol. And cortisol is really about our big stress response, right? And cortisol is very, very helpful. It's a hormone released by the adrenal glands in small amounts in a circadian rhythm. So let's stop there so that we get the language correct. What's our circadian rhythm again?
Sleep pattern.
Good. Why is the circadian rhythm important?
You need to be able to go into REM.
Wow, I love it,
For
man.
8 hours.
No, not for 8 hours. Nobody can do
4
REM.
hours. 4 hours.
Less, yes.
2, you're good.
Exactly. You get 2, you're good. Kim is approaching what, 1.5, and Kim is worried. When am I gonna get to 2 or 3 REM? That's a deep sleep.
Oh yeah, I'm sensitive. I'm
Yes.
below 2.
Yes.
Like 1 is lucky.
So it's a tough thing to achieve. And in larger amounts during times of stress. That's the real issue why stress is such a big topic. Because when we measure the stress in your saliva or measure the cortisol in your saliva or your urine, we can determine the residual circadian rhythms response and the overbearing perceived stress that you're laying on top of that. That gives us your chronic stress architecture.
Oh wow. Wait, so you say to me that you can actually measure the stress through saliva?
Yes,
I thought-
and urine.
I thought the stress interpret based on your blood pressure.
No.
Oh.
It's based on cortisol. And that's what drives, well, as we're going to see, cortisol can help control blood sugar levels, regulate metabolism, help reduce inflammation, and assist in memory formulation. Don't forget, what is cortisol for? To go fight. And so it then helps to bring all the forces to win the fight. Okay? When I now say I'm going to fight or I'm going to run, cortisol is required to push the architecture that's going to support me to run from the bear or to fight the bear. So if you're lying in your bed and you're stressed about your bank account, it's almost like you're running or fighting that bear. And so your body is in that kind of stress state.
So, but the cortisol can be a negative if it continues.
That's what we are saying, yes. So there is a circadian level, which is fine, and then there is the one that we add on top of it. And if that becomes chronic, stress is not a problem, it's when it's chronic. It's like inflammation is not a problem, only when it's chronic.
But we can monitor or control the cortisol so it doesn't go.
Yeah, so once you see it, when we do the measurement, then you begin to know. That's why most heart attacks are in the morning. That is a very important time to measure that. To see people wake up around 3, 4, 8, or 5 a.m. and they have heart attacks. That's almost when 50-60% happens. And it's because of that cortisol rise and response.
Wow.
Okay, so it's a very important thing for you to know where yours are. So we give you strips and we collect, I think, urine samples or saliva samples throughout the day, and then we can map out your overall cortisol response.
Wow.
It's very important that you know how yours is working. Then you want to do things about it. Like, why am I worrying about my bank account? Right? Because there are solutions to it. You either stop spending or make more money. Those are the two solutions to life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stop spending or make more money. Why worry about stuff when you can fix it? Burn your credit cards or work harder. I choose to work harder so I can spend. Right? Okay. Is that clear? So I'm not going to go into a lot of this cortisol stuff. You can keep this and read it. Let's go to the next one, next page. So jump that page where it says root, and let's go to this page that says progesterone. And so we actually have a supplement. We're going to talk about it later. Can you guys bring the things that I gave you? You
already bring now set it.
Yeah, but where at the sample box? I need the bottles. Yeah, can you come and put the bottles back here? I need them. So I need the adrenal one. Yeah. So if we look at adrenal, so this particular supplement for people who are stressed all the time helps calm you down. And it's a phytonutrient. It's plant-based, calms you down. And you know, it's mostly women, menopausal women, very stressed, very moody, very irritable. And so if you don't calm yourself, that's why also menopausal women have the highest risk for cardiovascular events and for Alzheimer's, right? Even though they live longer than men, they are more prone to a lot of catastrophic illnesses. So calming yourself down, we have quite a couple of things here that do that. It's very important. Progesterone, let's look at that. So also, if your cortisol is low, as we're just talking, then you have problems managing your blood sugar, because cortisol is also helping with that. You see the point? So you want to keep it at the right level, not too low, not too high. You know, God in his architecture was very funny. Everything balanced. Not too high, not too low. Very important, right? Let's look at progesterone. It's a hormone that's secreted after ovulation by the ovaries. It can be made in the placenta and adrenal glands as well. It primarily regulates the condition of the inner lining of the endometrium of the uterus. However, like estrogen, its systemic effects are numerous. Estrogen regulates the growth, development, physiology of human reproductive system. Estrogen is an important sex hormone produced primarily by the ovaries in premenopausal women and from circulating adrenal androgens in postmenopausal women. The biological actions of estrogen are mediated by binding to the estrogen receptors in the target organs. Estrogen runs, and progesterone, we're talking about it together, they really run a lot of stuff. It almost defines what makes a woman a woman.
That's the engine.
Yes, that makes a woman, and she feels like a woman. So when estrogen goes down, right, it is a big challenging issue, because the woman doesn't feel like she has always felt. Lots of complicated issues, and so it affects relationships. It affects self-esteem. It causes them to start gaining weight around their waist. They lose self-confidence and all of that. So it's a very, very big challenge. The solutions that have been built in the culture are two sets of solutions. Somebody was saying, I think Dr. Yi, that in the olden days we didn't talk a lot about hormone replacement therapy because most people died by the time they were 65. But now we're going to live till 100. How are women going to live half of their lives on low estrogen? It's a big issue in terms of the health risks and challenges that it brings. We're going to talk about testosterone for men soon, so don't worry. We're talking about women now. And so there are two strategies. There's hormone replacement therapy, which most women are concerned about because there's been conflicting research and studies around it. And then there are natural solutions like where's the estrovera? Like the estrofactors, and we have some other ones that people are choosing as an alternative. Actually, the estro, where is it? The estrovera. We don't have but we're going to give you some notes on it. It's really been run through clinical trials. Is the most active estrogen supporting supplement that really reduces a lot of the effects of menopause. So I'll give you some handouts on that later on. Okay? I'm not going to spend too much time on this. So let's go to, so this is what we use. We use quite several tests to determine hormone levels. We use tests, we use Dutch test, which is a urine test. We use blood tests. So we have a lot of different alternatives, and they all give different readings. There are concerns about whether which ones are more accurate, but we don't really worry about that. We worry about you getting the right hormones and how you actually feel about them, because it shows up as sweats, as irritability, as moodiness, as lack of sleep, and all of those things. So we have a lot of supporting things to support you address what I call these underlying imbalances. So currently today, when you're sick, people are looking for one answer. The body doesn't work like that. The body is a complex system that works together. So when one thing is wrong, there is a cascading effect across a lot of different things. So it is very difficult, and that's why Western medicine has lost its way with chronic illness. It's very difficult to diagnose chronic illness. So our approach is that we give the body what it needs so the body can self-correct. And that self-correction is called homeostasis. The body self-regulates. It takes what it needs and pushes out what it doesn't need. And in that, it self-corrects and gets itself back into balance. It's a very important.
Homeostasis?
Yeah, homeostasis, right? Is that state of being where the body is at equilibrium, right? Where you've addressed all the underlying imbalances. Is that making sense? Let's talk about testosterone. It looks like here I have only the female one. Did you give me all the slides? Yeah, okay, there's male. So, as you know, recently, there are some men who have chosen to become women. I thought you were aware of that already. And so now, when they go to run athletics, they're beating all the women.
Yeah, that's not fair.
Really? I thought in America you can choose to be what sex you choose to be. That's fair, right?
Yeah, but.
But then if I choose not,
competition.
well, but if you say it's fair for me to be a woman, if I choose to be one, then it should be fair now for me now to compete with you in athletics since I'm a woman. Huh?
You're really not a woman.
What is the evidence that I'm really not a woman?
How God created you.
Then why are we saying people can make a choice about their gender?
They should be able to.
You see, so that's the point. And so what is the Olympic Committee now doing? It says we're going to determine that you're a man or a woman based on your testosterone levels. We don't care whether God created you a man or a woman. We're just going to measure your testosterone and see whether you're a man or a woman. And therefore, if it is higher than a certain level, you cannot run in the women's race.
No, that's fair. That makes it fair.
I like how you look at life between fair and unfair. I thought God just created what He created. He didn't care about fair or unfair.
I'm thinking about the athletes.
Oh, all right. Okay. But you get how testosterone is very important, right? And for men, it gives us this aggressive libido. We want to go to war. We want to take all the women. We want to own all the women. We want to own countries. We want to run the government. We want to be in charge. And so when you don't get enough of it, then men turn into what they call in Cameroon a shwagman, a weak man, a chicken. When you don't have enough, men start feeling like they're not real men. So they need some support on that. Okay? So men, women all have the same challenges around this hormone. So let's go to, where are we now? I'm lost on my pages. So I'm going to stop there. Any questions about hormones? You have the notes. Any questions? So both men and women, men have menopause too. I wasn't trying to be deliberate because men also go through a period when their hormones begin to drop. And especially in the Western culture, and most of that is really coming from diet. In the villages, those women in the blue zones don't need hormone replacement therapy. They don't, because they're doing all these things very well. They're eating well, they're sleeping well, they're exercising, they're hydrating, there's no stress, they detox, they do all these things very well. But Western culture has brought in a lot of stress toxicity that is really challenging that overall hormonal architecture and creating significant hormonal imbalances. And then there's the whole concern about cancer and estrogen and all of that. And the thyroid. And so most of our patients are moving towards the phytonutrients. Okay? We're going to do the questionnaire now. So this is a hormone questionnaire, and we're going to walk you through it. We're going to walk you through it. Thank you. How's it going so far? I have a very quiet class.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
This is not communism.
Okay. So, I went to an endocrinologist yesterday.
I don't know who those people are.
Oh.
What's an endocrinologist?
Okay. So anyway.
What did they study?
Endocrine glands, experts in.
Really, they study only one gland? That's the challenge already. He knows only about one gland.
Oh, got it. Okay. Well, I can ask you later.
No, I'm sorry. Please go ahead. People are interested in the question. That was a
so
joke.
Anyway, long story short, is I take thyroid medication, and I was told that I would have to be on it for the rest of my life.
It depends. We have to run the labs to see. And it could be that it's complicated by other things. So it could be genetic. We don't know.
Okay.
We have to run all the labs. And it could be that you could balance it with phytonutrients.
Got it.
Because being on those medications is for the rest of your life. It's not a good. Yeah.
Question. You run all the lab work, then what's the next step?
Very good question. I was going to do that in the end, but thanks, Victor. So we run all the labs, and we look at the collective labs. We are looking in terms of, Dr. Preston and I do that, we look at all these imbalances, because those clinical biomarkers, there are about 500 of them, begin to tell us that there are some clusters of problems. But typically, we start first by addressing your basic nutrient requirement for your age and gender. Most people don't have enough nutrient every day. Where's our nutrient thing? Should be here, guys. Right? Most people do not have the basic required daily allowance. That is number one. So even before your results come, so I'll give just you, Isabel. We don't have enough copies right now. So if you look through that, you will see that there are almost 6 pages of things that you need every day. That's why you cannot eat well. Because nobody can eat all of this every day. You can't eat your way through your requirements every day. So that's where we start, number one. And then number two, we fix your gut. Because it doesn't matter what you're eating, we want to make sure you can absorb it. Right? So we fix the gut because most Americans have leaky gut. So we want to fix the gut. Basic, fix the gut, then we start fixing the other things. That's our strategy.
Good.
Is that clear?
Yes.
Because if we don't fix your gut, some people say, oh, I buy my supplements from Costco. 2 things. We don't know whether you can absorb, and the supplements in Costco are bad quality. That's it, right? Any other questions?
Good.
Yeah, okay.
For right now.
So we'll make copies of this for people who don't have it. You can keep copies of that. I have some extra copies. I think So has that already. You don't have it. Did we give you a copy of this before? Okay. And then pass that to Helen.
We have more copies.
Okay. All right, let's go to the questionnaire. What happened to my questionnaire? All right, so you have the choice to take this questionnaire home or to give it to us so that we could get back to you. So just write your name and the date and potentially your phone number and email at the top. Okay, so let's look at the growth hormone part. So this is one of the hormones we do. We're going to rush through this quickly, okay? Let's rush. My hair is thinning. My cheeks sag. My gums are receding. Oh, I'm just going to stop there quickly. One of the most important part of your gut architecture when we look at this digestive, absorptive, and gut microbial imbalance is your mouth health. Actually, it's the most important part. So if you have fillings or you're not taking good care of your dental hygiene, that's a big problem with this imbalance. You know how many times you swallow spit a day? How many times you swallow spit a day? 6,000 times. So if there's a lot of bad bacteria in your mouth, you're swallowing it into your gut continuously, right? So as often as possible, it's good to wash the mouth. Not rinse with those chemicals, but actually I should be able to look at your tongue and it should be pink. Look at it in the mirror when you're washing your teeth. Is my tongue pink? Mine, I know. So after you eat, you see that that layer of bacteria begins to form on the tongue. You really need to clean it properly. If not, you're swallowing it. And people say, oh, I'm very hygienic. But all of that, your dentist will tell you the same thing if you don't want to go to the dentist, right? And if you have amalgams or things in your mouth, you're swelling all that heavy metal. And that's a toxin, right? In Africa, we didn't remove our wisdom teeth. My wisdom teeth is still there. It's not causing me a problem. In America, they remove it, and then all your teeth begins to shake. And then they go and put some other things in, and you have this complicated life with your mouth always having a problem, right? Okay, let's go. I just saw that gums receding, and I thought, why not? My abdomen is flabby like mine. I've got a spare tire. My muscles are slack. My skin is thin and dry. It's hard to recover after physical activity. I feel exhausted. I don't like the world. I tend to isolate myself. I feel continuously anxious and worried. So when you score this, we're going to add these numbers. So just score what you think you are, and we're going to add the numbers, and it will give you some guidance. Okay? Let's move to the next one, DHEA. DHEA is a very, very important precursor to most of the hormones. DHEA is a very, very important precursor. So as part of our hormonal therapy, we provide DHEA, even with the Estrovera and the other things we're going to talk about, to support that whole issue here we're going to talk about. Right?
That's if you could take it.
What do you mean if you could take it?
Yeah.
What would not make you not be able to take it?
Well,
because your doctor said because you have a thyroid problem you should not take it?
or if you don't want it to produce estrogen
Yeah, but you wouldn't know that until you knew your levels. Do you know your lab levels?
on my TSH.
Yeah, well, if you don't know that, and well, but the estrogen that is coming from Estrovera is the estrogen beta. alpha. So, you know, a lot of doctors give information and we don't really get the right information. So there's a lot of confusion around estrogen. Dr. Yi can talk to you in details about that later on. Yes, and help you with the therapy, the process for how we move forward with that, okay? So if you notice, most of these questions around the hormones are the same symptoms. And that tells you a very important thing. All of these hormones work together. So you cannot say, oh, I don't want estrogen, but I want this one, because they work together. It's like a symphony. Let's take away the trumpet section. It changes the music. Let's take away the piano. It changes the music. The music requires the coordination of all the hormones. The music requires that. If not, you're missing something. And except there is a special reason why we should remove the piano section. Right? So let's walk through this. So DHEA, my belly is getting fat. I don't have hair under my arm. I don't have much hair in my pubic area. I don't have much fatty tissue in my pubic area. My body doesn't have much of special scent during sexual arousal. I cannot tolerate noise. My libido is low. Right? Very interesting personal questions. Thyroid. As Isabel just spoke about thyroid. Isabel, we're on the next page. I am sensitive to cold. My hands and feet are always cold. In the morning, my face is puffy and my eyelids are swollen. I put on weight easily. I have dry skin. I thought that was just an African issue of having dry skin. We call it ashing, where the body actually ashes. I have trouble getting up in the morning. I don't have that problem. I feel more tired at rest than when I'm active. Wow. I'm constipated? No. My joints are stiff in the morning. Not anymore. I feel like I'm living in slow motion. You see, that's the things thyroid would do to you, right? For somebody as young as Pauline, it would just be because she lives an exceedingly vital life.
In slow motion, like everything around you moves faster or you move slower?
Both. It's your perception of the world. That you are moving slowly and everything is rushing past you. The world is too fast for you. I have memory loss. So we're going now to pregnenolone. We also have supplements to support that. I have memory loss. My joints hurt. I'm feeling a bit drained and I have a hard time handling stress. I don't see colors as brightly as before. I have that problem now. I have lost interest in art. No, I love art. I don't have much hair under my arms and in my pubic area. My muscles are flabby. I have abundant light-colored urine during the day. I have low blood pressure. I crave salty foods. Then cortisol. That's the one about stress. My face looks thinner. My friends call me skinny. I have eczema, psoriasis, urticaria, skin allergies and other rashes. My heart beats quickly. We would know that if we did the EKG. Do we want to put the air conditioning off? I think it's getting cold enough. I always take my signal when Grace puts up her jacket. Thank you. Where was I? I crave salt or sugar to the extent of binging. I have digestive problems. I have allergies. I'm stressed out. I'm easily confused. So we see the impact of, then we look at testosterone. I'm just going through this quickly. Just trying to manage time. Testosterone, my face has gotten slack and more wrinkled. I've lost muscle tone. My belly tends to get fat. I'm constantly tired. I feel like making love less than I used to. And then this is for men only. My breasts are getting flabby. Well, you know, like this question here, I feel like making love less than I used to. It causes divorce. And people just didn't know it was just hormones. Right? The desire used to be there, and all of a sudden your libido or desire has gone. And then below for men only, breasts are getting fatty. I feel less confident and more hesitant. My sexual performance is poorer than it used to be. Well, it's gonna be. I have hot flashes and sweat. You see, men also have hot flashes and sweat. I tire easily with physical activity. And you know, my hot flash happens like once, like every 2 or 3 months. I would just be like in a meeting and all of a sudden I break out in sweat and I'll be like, what happened? Right? So men have hot flashes too, not just women. Then melatonin, that's the thing that we need for rest. And so we prescribe that to, or we recommend that to a lot of our patients who can't sleep well. I look older than I am. I have troubles falling asleep in the night. I wake up during the night. I can't get back to sleep. That was Isabel's question. My mind is busy with anxious thoughts while I'm trying to fall asleep. That's why I recommend you get a notebook by your bedside, because the brain has this very interesting thing. If you don't write it down, the brain is worried that you're going to forget it. So it refuses to let it go. So when you write it down, the brain now trusts that you're not going to forget. Then it lets it go. So having a notebook by your bedside is very important. Or when you go to pee, like I do, you sit on the toilet and make notes and then go back to bed. That way, everything that your sleep was telling you, you've written down. Now you can go back to sleep. Okay, it's very important that you have those things around. Okay, then don't go start texting and reading email, because then you won't be able to go back to sleep, because you're going to stress yourself with all those emails coming from your friends, right? Telling you that they had an amazing kimchi last night, and then you start dreaming of food at 4 a.m. My feet are too hot at night. I used to get that too. When I get up, I don't feel rested. That's the coffee syndrome. I feel like I'm living out of sync with the world, going to bed late and waking up late. Pauline, that's most of your classmates, right?
Yeah.
I can't tolerate jet lag. I smoke, drink, and use beta blockers or sleep aid. Okay. Estrogen. This is for women only. I'm losing hair on top of my head. Yes, we have hair restoration solutions here. I'm getting thin vertical wrinkles on my lips. You know those wrinkles that are, that's the real aging one. Do we have a solution to those? We do? Okay. My breasts are droopy. Well, if they're droopy, we could get rid of the breasts, or we could enhance them. My face is too dry. We have solutions to that. My eyes are dry and easily irritated. I have hot flashes. That's normally the first complaint. I feel tired constantly. That tired constantly, we're going to talk about something about it. That is really a mitochondrial dysfunction. The tiredness, it's a mitochondrial dysfunction. It's the energy architecture of the cell not producing